One of the most popular military sci-fi books ever was published in 2005. And what better way to celebrate 20 years since the publication of this book than to publish the latest installment of the series that it kicked off. I was pretty excited about this on its own, but I got the chance to meet the author of this book just a couple of days ago, ever so briefly. Please join the conversation. Hey everybody, welcome to D3 Reads. It's Eric. Thanks so much for joining. September is coming rapidly to a close, and I am in a rush to try to finish the books I'm currently reading so that I can hurry up and transition over to spooky season books, because I have just got that itch to read some good horror. I think next week I'll give you a preview of all the stuff that I'm going to try to finish in October and review for you before the big day comes on October 31st. Now, as I mentioned before, I am doing a focus on fantasy at the moment. I am over halfway done with Joe Abercrombie's The Devils, as well as Brandon Sanderson's The Well of Ascension. The Devils just continues to blow me away. I am really enjoying that book. The Well of Ascension, solid read so far, but I'm not enjoying it quite as much as I am with The Devils. But again, I'm hoping to get a good full review of both of those books, as well as a couple other really good fantasy books here in a week, maybe two, because again, I'm a slow reader. But I was also reading R.F. Kuang's The Poppy War. I've decided to set that one aside. Not because it's not a good book. It's actually a really enjoyable read, but there's just no way I'm going to get this done if I'm going to be able to read some good horror books in time for spooky season. That just won't happen. So what I thought, my practice is normally to plan out my videos a couple of weeks in advance if I can make the time. And I realized that one of the categories of books that I'm working on or plan on working on here over the next couple of months is military fantasy books. I've done military sci-fi a couple times, but I've never done military fantasy books, which maybe, I don't know, it seems like it's in an even less represented subgenre of books. So The Poppy War, I think, might fit in perfectly with that. So I'm going to set this one down. It's a DNF for now, and I plan on picking it up maybe by the end of the year, possibly early 2026. I have to see how these other readings go over the next couple of months. So I'm hoping to wrap up the fantasy reads right now that I'm working on right now, get them done, if not next week, then the week after, and then transition wholly into the horror stuff that I've been eagerly waiting. But we're not talking horror today. Today I want to talk about something really special that I got to participate in over the last couple of days. Cuyahoga Public Library System hosts author events weekly, and because I guess it's one of the larger regional library systems, they have some really impressive authors who show up. Matter of fact, the first time I stumbled over this was when they were hosting Candace Millard, who wrote The River of Doubt, which was one of my favorite nonfiction books that I've read over the last couple of years. And I was so excited, and I drove the 3.5 hours to Cleveland, where this is, and so I can see her speak, and got her to sign I let her sign my son's copy of the book because he bought the book for me, and so we got him a copy, and it was just a really neat experience. And since then, I've gotten to meet a couple of my favorite authors. Dave Barry, one of my favorite humor authors, and then just recently I got to meet John Scalzi, who is promoting his latest installment of the Old Man's War series, The Shattering Peace. And so when I saw that he was going to be at Cuyahoga Library System a couple of weeks ago, I just jumped on the chance, bought me a ticket, and I knew I was going to do the 3.5 hour drive up there, 3.5 hour drive back. So 7 hours of traveling just to hear him talk for an hour, and then stand in line for 30 minutes so I can get a signed copy of his book. But it was worth it. If you've never gone to a book signing if you find out one of your favorite authors is going to be in your area, you got to go do it. You know, what I found, at least in the 3 times I've gotten to do this, even though these are well-established popular authors, the authors are almost always super gracious and very happy to engage with their fans. And so this was no exception. When I went, I actually arrived at the library a little bit late because, again, 3.5 hour drive, and the traffic around Columbus was insane. But I still made it right there at 7 o'clock, but it had just started. So I went in through a top entrance so I didn't disrupt the proceedings. And I got to sit down for pretty much the whole hour and listen to John Scalzi talk about writing. He entertained us actually with a reading from a book that he's currently reading now, which is kind of, or writing now, excuse me. And that was really cool. It was a prologue to a book that he says is coming out in 2026. And I'm not going to reveal any of it because I feel like that was something that he shared with the audience specifically. And so, just keep your eyes out for a new John Scalzi book coming out in 2026. But it was a fascinating read, and I was just really thrilled to be a part of that. But that aside, after the Q&A section, he held a Q&A section where fans got to ask questions about his writing process and other things. And then after that, I went down there and I got a chance to talk to him. I got a photo with him, which I was towards the end of the line. Now, I started reading this while I was in line waiting. I had a good 30 minutes before they got to me to sign my book. So I started reading it, and the setup for this book is a little bit into the future from his last book. There's been a decade of peace between the colonial union and the conclave, and he introduces to us a new alien force that supposedly is far more advanced than anything humanity's ever faced. And so the primary heroine of this story is a diplomat who is, I guess, brought along with some military forces to try to somehow put off war and prevent the destruction of humanity. So sounds like a good setup for this for a book. Possibly, the previous book was called The End of All Things, and so John Scalzi acknowledges that that was maybe not the best title for the second to last book, but this sounds pretty good. The first few pages that I got to read while I was in line were pretty good. It promises to be an action-packed story. So yeah, really looking forward to reading The Shattering Peace. But still, he was so pleasant, and I actually asked him what he was reading, and he gave me a pretty fair answer. He said he's not reading anything right now because he's writing his book, and he wants to make sure that another author's words don't sneak their way into his writing. Okay, fair enough. But he did think about it for a second, which I was very happy with, and he said, he had just finished, I think he said, the latest installment of the Lady Astronaut series. That's a series written by Mary Robinette Kowal, and it's a kind of an alternate history sci-fi series. And he said if I hadn't read any of those books, and he recommended to me the Calculating Stars, which is the first in the series. So because of that, I've added that to my TBR, and now I've got to figure out when I'm going to kind of roll up these new sci-fi editions to my TBR. The Shattering Peace, because it's the latest installment of the Old Man's War series, I think I'm going to try to read in the December timeframe when I do my next installment of military sci-fi reviews. I will probably go ahead and take a look at The Last Colony as well. That's the third of the Old Man's War series. I have not read it, but of course they were selling other Scalzi books there, and it was so nice because they said, one book signing per person, and if you got multiple books, just go back through the line again. But he was just very pleasant. He saw that I had this book. He said, "Would you like me to sign that too?" And he did, and it was a very good experience. John Scalzi was just a delight to listen to. He was very, very pleasant and, again, generous with his time, and I just really appreciated it. So it was a great experience. So if you ever get the opportunity definitely try to go to book signings, because you get to see and hear from your favorite folks who are writing these, the creative minds behind our favorite books. So again, that was just such a thrill, and I highly recommend it. But what I'm going to do with the Calculating Stars is roll that up into a greater science fiction review, and I'm going to include the Isaac Asimov books that I haven't read from the Foundation series. I admitted to you all last time I think I talked sci-fi that I've only read the first of the Foundation series, and I just recently got Foundation and Empire, and so I think I wanted to do those books in a collection of reviews as well. So that's where we stand with current TBR, moving into spooky season, and then going off into military sci-fi, military fantasy, and then a general sci-fi roll-up towards, hopefully all towards the end of the year. But having said that, let me know what you're reading. Are you doing, have you read The Calculating Stars? If so, let me know what your thoughts are on that. Are you excited about Scalzi's newest work, The Shattering Peace? I know I really am. So that's it, guys. I was so excited about meeting John Scalzi. I wanted to share that with you. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to read these books for probably a month, maybe two, but I am looking forward to it. Let me know if you're reading The Shattering Peace. No spoilers, please, but just drop in the comments what you think about it. I know the little bit I've read, I've really enjoyed, and we will be transitioning to spooky season and hopefully wrapping up the fantasy TBR here over the next couple of weeks. Everybody, thanks so much for joining. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. We love having you here. We love the comments too. Please drop a comment. Let us know what you're reading, and have a great day.